go. Awesome. So let's come to the centre of the mat, or thereabouts, spreading through the toes. Let's start with the feet around hip width apart, and just look down at the feet as you pad through the feet a number of times, almost a bit sort of robotic when we first start, looking at the shapes of the feet, and just to start to tune us into the body, spreading down through the toes. You may want to rest on the heels and shift the awareness to the balls of the feet and the toes. See how that feels, because we all hold our patterns in different ways and potentially tension. So you can feel through the soles of the feet, whatever you feel. It may be different for each of us. So I certainly can feel a little stretch between the big toes, perhaps where the toes have been kept in those tight socks over winter. So just gently releasing. And then when you've explored lifting the toes, lifting the heels, and do this for as long as it feels inviting, drawing you in. I find it helps to look at the feet in the first instance, checking that the feet remain sort of parallel, so the midline of the foot is forward, depending how well spread your toes are. And then let the feet settle when you feel ready. Then we'll bring our attention up to the hips, okay? So little movement, little sway through the hips. You can place your hands on the hips if you want, onto the hip points, at the very tops of the hips or the waist, sit whatever comes naturally for you, and start to bend into the knees. And at this point we may start to lift up a little bit taller, just feeling into the body. You can even close the eyes if it helps you sort of let go of the visual, because this is a feeling, experiential invitation. It's not something like, we're going to all look the same or we're all going to move the hips to the same position. This is simply just feeling the connective tissue with the feet planted. Okay, so there's less movement now through the feet. We're taking that movement through the ankles, the knees and the hips. And the hands on the hips really is just so that you can feel, hopefully feel, the connective tissue. So even as we move just side to side, keep breathing. Notice if you're holding the breath. It's very tempting to hold on to the breath, particularly when we're listening to instruction, moving the body. We're going to come to rest in the centre. So the centre, really focusing up through this midline, lifting, lifting, lifting. Take that line all the way. I know the screen has ended, but my fingertips are drawing up, up, up through the crown of the head. And at that point, we can leave the main body in that place of stillness and then release the arms. Okay, so woolly jumper's optional, depends how chilly it is where you are. We're going to rotate the palms. So this little openness, again, feel into the body. So we surrender the movement through the legs, through the torso, and then bring that little openness, perhaps with an exhalation even. Same with the other side, nice deep breaths. And then a little movement may come in again through the hips. Just go with what arises. So we're not forcing, a certain number of sways or distance, or certainly not adding anything. Let that movement just come through the body. Feet are planted, so we really get this sense of having that stability and then coming back to stillness. Let's just pause there, breathing through the nose if you can. Really releasing the out breath, and perhaps watching as the in breath comes in, where it lands. And noticing if there's any softening through the back of the body. So we're just standing, you could say, but with all of that awareness, with that connection through the feet, with that awareness of the connection between the ankles, knees and hips, and with this added openness through the anterior spine and the chest. Let's see if you can feel almost a sort of release of energy down through the fingertips. Start to extend the fingers slightly back. So this may feel quite strong. You're almost flexing Beautiful, into the very tops of the hands. We do this with the feet, but we don't often think to do it with the hands. Deep breaths. Well done. Chin to chest. Let's bring the hands together. Bend the knees slightly, a little bow, so just softening down through the connective tissue, through the soles of the feet, this plantar fascia, through the backs of the legs, all the way up through the spine. So a gentle little bow here. And we'll take that a little bit further, knees are bent, head can come towards the chest. We're going to release the hands and take a hold of the elbows. Okay, so we're coming into a very gentle Uttanasana, forward fold. Now, here we can really witness what's happening with the feet. Okay, so we may notice if we feel like we're tipping forward, we may be too far forward into the balls of the feet and the toes. So gently rock back into the heels. Breathing deep. The more you bend into the knees, you'll notice that the glutes, the buttocks, yeah, they're really taking over. So they're sort of waking up, this sort of gentle sense of awakening. From this very sort of small contained space, we're going to release the hands, bring them onto the thighs, rolling up really slowly, chin to chest. Bring the shoulders all the way up to the ears and release. Well done, nice deep breath. Bring a little movement to one of the shoulders, whichever one arises as the most urgent in need of a little lubrication in that shoulder joint. Nice deep breaths. You can huff and puff. We're shaking off the debris, the tamasic energy of our slumber, if you like, if we have been slumbering. Well done. Let's come to the other side. Forward, up and back. So we're moving through these at quite a pace, but you can take your time. If you're moving with the breath, this is a good indication that there is some level of awareness, some consciousness, some sense of presence. Wonderful. Slowly release. Bend the knees. Let's bring the arms forward. As we come to full extension, we're going to take the arms all the way up. Again, I know you can't see my hands, but extend through the palms and then a nice wide circle. Exhale. Let's do 2 more of those. Again, the more we bend into the knees, press into the floor with the feet, come all the way up on an inhale and exhale. Really pause before you come to the next one. And then slowly really working into the floor. So we're getting that sense of support up through the earth and release. Good job, well done. Have a little shake out of the hands. Take those little movements out towards the sides. And then we're going to pick up the feet and do the same with the feet. So if you know you're a little bit wobbly and you want to lean against the wall, come to a wall, okay, and then isolate, bringing that little movement, so really liberating the feet and ankles. Otherwise, stay nice and central. This will just give you a focal point, something to really fix the eyes on. Just keep bearing down through that foot, the supporting foot. So the trick here is any balancing actually, is root down through the foot. Use the big toe, the ball of the foot, the heel, all the edges of the foot. Obviously keep breathing. Exhale, release. And the other thing is to fix the eyes, okay, on something that isn't moving. Settle the other leg when you're ready, picking up the foot. Sometimes one side feels easier than the other. Follow that breath. So any movements, a little bend in the knee. Good job, nice deep breaths. Well done. A few little clicks and pops here, releasing through the ankles, landing the feet. Take some deep breaths. I'm just going to take a layer off now. It's like the heating's kicked in at the wrong time. Good job. So we're going to lift up the heels and replant the heels, okay? So again, you may want to just release the arms. You can have them resting on the hips. I'm going to turn sideways on just so you can see I'm not folding forward too much. I'm maximising the movement by lifting up the heels and maintaining as much as possible that central channel. So I'm not coming forward at the risk of tipping. So we try and keep that sense of upright and release. And it may be that you're just coming a small distance. Start with a small distance and build up. So why would we want to do this? Well, the more we can feel into the body, the more we're drawing our attention to this moment, to this presence, just dropping into our practice. And when we do that, we are removing ourselves from everything else that's playing in the mind, going around in the mind. You could see that as the surrender that we practiced a couple of weeks ago, lifting up through the inner arches, whatever helps with this, this gentle elevation. Good job. Settle when you're ready. Come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Chest open and relax. Deep breaths. Well done. Let's breathe the hands onto the body. One around the navel, one around the heart space. Take a deep breath into both hands and just settle into that stillness. Exhaling fully. Well done. Good job. Slowly release. Well done. We're going to pick up our belts, okay? So everyone has a slightly different length belt. Staying with the standing postures for a moment. We're just going to simply take the belt. It doesn't matter the length. Actually, I find folding it in quarters if you've got a sort of standard size one is quite helpful. So then we take it into the left hand, okay? We're bringing that hand close to the shoulder so that the belt can just drop down the back. Okay, so there's something essentially to hold on to. So I'm going to turn around slightly here. We're going to take, I'll do it in stages, keeping the feet nice and parallel so we don't feel wobbly. You can stand with the feet very close together, but you'll need to be really mindful of that wobble. Feel free to do that if you know your balance is really good and there's no problem with dizziness. Now we're going to take the opposite arm up the back, so taking the back of the hand against the body and then walking that hand up, up, up. Good job. So there is a gentle bind there, okay, a nice gentle bind. I'll just move a little further back so you can see a little bit more. So one arm is elevated and one arm is down. Nice deep breaths. And just finding that central channel again, energetically, just up through the pelvic floor, through the lower belly and the chest, through the crown of the head. And we're going to release the lower hand, just let go of the belt nice and slowly. And the top arm, okay, let the arm sort of unravel as it wishes to do. Lift those shoulders and release, really gentle, okay, so again, we may be holding a little bit of tension around there. We're going to turn the head to the right, chin to chest. Have a little movement as we release side to side before we come to the other side. Just noticing what tension there may be in these areas around the neck, the shoulders, trapezius. Settle in the centre, head comes all the way up. We'll change hands, okay, so passing the belt to the other hand. You can make a loop, whatever feels, everyone's got a slightly different length, I'm sure, so take your time. We're going to bend the elbow, again, let that belt just drop down the back, sort of casual style. And then when you're ready, back of the hand travels up the body, so the palm reaches the belt. And again, we're gently walking the hand up the belt. So the more tension there is through the belt, you may have noticed this on the first side, the more we sort of grip and pull, the more spaciousness there is. but equally, this may be enough without adding anything extra. So just noticing that openness across the chest, around the shoulder blades, and taking that breath as high up into the tops of the lungs as possible, and releasing that breath. And as always, if this feels too intense, you just loosen. Let the hand soften. Let the hand travel down the belt, the lower hand that is. So there's less tension, less pulling, less effort. Well done. Let's release the lower hand now. Again, let that release, almost sort of ragdoll style, and the same with the other arm. We're going to keep the belt in the hand, just passing one end to the other hand. Rest here, let the eyes look up, nice chest opener, just reaching up with the eyes. Let the jaw release, okay, so lower jaw almost creates an R shape with the mouth. You can make that sound if you're able to. And the eyes can gently rest in their sockets. Excellent. Come back to neutral position with the head. Look down towards the feet. Let's just lift the heels, replant the heels, have a bend into the knees. Loosen off. Replace the feet back to hip width if they've wandered or the feet have suddenly turned out or turned in. It doesn't really matter so much if they turn in, but keeping them parallel is just a good discipline, and it helps with the alignment through the hips and the pelvis. So now we're going to, you can either be very strict about this, making the belt roughly around shoulder width. And we're going to breathe the belt just in front of the chest. So again, I'll turn sideways so you can see it's not sort of low down like a supermarket trolley or higher than the shoulders like, I can't think of an analogy, skier. Something that feels comfortable. It's a stretch. And we are, again, gently stretching into the hands. We're going to drop the hands down to stretch the tops of the hands and then bring fingertips up. Good job. So when I say fingertips, sorry, just lifting the whole of that belt up so you can stretch again. Hopefully you'll feel that into the hands. And then back to neutral with the knuckles facing forward. Press down through the feet, use some tone in the belly here. We're going to gently, without moving the torso or the hips, let the hands just travel over to the right, okay? So it's tempting to want to go, because we know we have that full range, but what we're looking for is movement in the upper back. So it may not be far, we may meet some tension in the shoulders, so nice deep breaths. Using that tummy tone, if you can, sort of draw up from the pelvic floor. Gently release, let the hands come, let the belt rest against the thighs. If you want to move and release into the shoulders, just let your body respond. Nice deep breaths. Don't over grip with the hands, they'll tire very easily, okay? So stretch the fingers, soft grip of the belt. Deep breath in. Up comes the belt, exhale, other side to the left. And again, hips and pelvis still facing forward towards me, chest still facing forward towards me. And hopefully you can feel that isolation in the back of the body. And there may be a little bit more movement on each side, in comparison to the other side, but that's really, that's okay. That's the body just doing its thing. It's what we make it mean. We have to be mindful of. Well done. Good job. Release the hands. We're going to pop our belt down for now. Relax into the shoulders. Take the feet wide. This time we are turning the toes all the way out. Come to a little bit of a high squat. Let's just take the hands on the hips. And again, a little movement. I'm resting on the heels, lifting the toes. Keep coming up to the upright position without folding forwards, tempting as it is. Well done. Settle in the centre. Breathe the hands all the way down and then up. Exhale. Legs are extended, arms release. Well done. Keep going with this little movement as we breathe in and release. Good job. So we are really exploring the front of the body, back of the body, and of course the sides of the body. Come all the way up. Exhale. One more. This is a goddess pose as we are looking at Tara in our chant today. Good job. This time let's cross the elbows. Take the hands onto the shoulders. We do this lying down sometimes. Dropping the elbows towards the chest, chin to chest. Breathe into the middle back. Exhale, release the grip of the hands. Good job. Let's take the arms out, up, and then we're going to cross the elbows the other way. It's always your least favourite side, so don't worry if it doesn't feel right. Chances are it's exactly as it needs to be, chin to chest. Let's gently release the arms, the head. Well done. Come towards the top of your mat. We're going to come folding down into a Uttanasana, into a downward dog. Okay, so again, leave some space ahead of you. I'm just saying the name so you know where we're heading. We're going to bend into the knees, draw the belly and lift the chest. So we really lengthen over the hips, the hip joints. And then as we come down slowly, bend in the knees, press the palms to the floor, and then we're going to walk the hands all the way out. Now if this is too much for the hands, for the wrists, you just come down to hands and knees and you rest. Otherwise, just have a play with extending up through the heels, now that those feet are as awake as they need to be. Shifting the weight side to side, head and neck releases. Settle in the centre when you're ready. So you can always look forward to the hands, okay? Check that they're well spread, equidistant from the sides of your mat, middle fingers pointing forward, all the little details. And just breathe. So take that breath to the fingertips, to the toes, to the edges of the ribs and the armpits. When you're ready, we're going to bend into the knees, tuck under the toes. We're going to come all the way down to the floor. We're going to come into a prayer pose before we come into our restful balasana. So we walk the hands forward, dropping onto the elbows. Feel free to adjust if you need to, the screen, but essentially I'll just give as good an instruction as I possibly can. Palms together, hands over the head, head comes to the floor. And let the fingertips point down the spine. Make any adjustment you need. If you want to raise the head slightly, you can place a little block under there, or bridge the gap between the heels and the buttocks with a block or a blanket. Lots of options here. I'm going to give you some options. And of course, quarter block might be a little high. You're just resting on the forehead. Deep breaths into the back, release the hands. Come up nice and slowly. We're going to adjust ourselves with some props. So you may want to grab your bolster here between the thighs, creating some space. So it's a deep fold over the hips. So if that was strong with the shoulders, you know, and the arms, then this is equally as restful for the back, for the chest, for the whole of the body. So we can wrap ourselves around. If this is a pillow, you may want to use a bed pillow if you haven't got a bolster, wrapped around with a towel. Take whatever you need in order to soften and release. Nice deep breaths. So make some space for the chest. I find it useful to push the bolster a little bit further away so there's more space for the chest, for the belly. Turning the head to the side. If it's chilly where you are, just throw a blanket over you, okay, or a shawl. Taking extra deep breaths through the nose. And we're going to turn the head to the other side, okay? If you haven't already, gently lifting the head, turning the head. Make any adjustments. It may be that the arms can come a little further out now that the body is slowly releasing. Keep breathing. Eyes gently closed if that feels good for you. Let's take a deep breath in when you're ready. Come up nice and slowly. Staying as close to the breath as you can without too much agitation. Pop the bolster to one side. We are going to turn over, come to lie on our backs. You may want your blanket under your back of your head. It's a nice little addition. A little bit of softness. So grab that if it's nearby. I hope it's nearby because you'll definitely need it later. It's about 1 inch thick. Well done. Take your time. That's good stuff. So let's come onto our back. So just witnessing as you land, okay, clear your mat of other props. Feet are planted. Roll yourself down nice and slowly. Let the back of the head land. Just check there's no agitation or interference at the back of the neck. So you don't want anything digging in like a hoodie or a bun or anything like that. Let's place the hands on the lower belly, just around the diaphragm, the lower ribs. Take some deep breaths. So as you settle, again, just melt. Just let the tension fall away, handing over any residual tension, just softening. Eyes again can rest in their sockets. The jaw can be soft. And breathe into the hands. Okay, so when we take our awareness to our fingertips, it's much easier to come towards that sense of touch through the fingers. So breathe into the fingers. Feel the breath moving the belly and the diaphragm. Even if it's very subtle, see if you can shift the breath from the upper chest down towards the belly. Rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. And just become really super aware of your physical shape. And then take the awareness to the next space around the physical shape. Start to get that sense of expanding beyond your physical form. So really just melting. Let the edges just fade. Let the weight of the body be surrendered. So there is a sense of sinking, releasing, expanding. Well done. When you're ready, let's gently release the hands. Take a moment just to plant the hands down by your side. Hopefully your belt is still somewhere nearby. See if you can find it. I like to sometimes fish with my foot, but slightly out of reach today. So bring it up towards one of the hands if it's not already. You can have a little wiggle here side to side with the hips and the pelvis, particularly if there's stiffness around the lower back, just allowing that reset across the bones of the pelvis. And then when you're ready, settling so that we are once again square to the floor, as it were, to the sides of the mat. Feet are planted. We're going to gently bring the feet up, knees in towards the chest. Pick up our belt. This is the next part of the fishing analogy. We sort of hook around a foot. I find it easier to hook one and then the other, okay? And then slowly start to extend the legs up. Now I'm gently rocking across the back of my pelvis, but it's very gentle, and I'm doing it with bent knees as I slowly start to, again, open up through the backs of the legs. Walk the hands the length of the belt, and then we're bringing the attention to the shoulders. Okay, so notice if there's a lot of tension there, I may want to just bring a little softness. And find the sweet spot where legs are supported, arms are extended. Avoid wrapping the belt around the hands because that will hurt. It will add more tension than is required. Now you can flex the feet so the belt's in contact with roughly the just under the balls of the feet and before the arches, as it were. And then nice deep breaths. If the hands start to tire, if it's too much, too strenuous through the thumb joints or the fingers, just soften, okay? Let the knees bend, release the tension, and then come back in. Nice deep breaths. We can sometimes practice this with the legs actually up against the wall. And just notice the weight of the legs dropping down into the pelvis. Keep a soft bend on the knees if there's any sort of sciatica, any tightness or sort of nerve pain through the pelvis. Little soft flex through the feet. If the mind starts to drift, bring your attention back to the posture, back to the present. Well done. Let's bend the knees. Release the belt. Pop that to one side. Let's take the arms gently up and over the head if that's comfortable. If you notice that the shoulders are really resistant and the elbows are really high off the floor, just walk the arms a little wider apart. Okay, so find what works for you. You may want to interlace the fingers and see if that also feels good in the upper back. We're going to bring some rotation to the ankles, this time in the air. You can let the legs come a little further apart so they've got some space to really express themselves, those feet. Turning the feet out, stretching so that that stretch can be felt up into the calf muscles. Beautiful. And then gently heels towards the buttocks. Breathe here with the feet flexed. Exhale, we're going to bring the arms down by the sides, feet planted. You can walk the heels as close in towards the buttocks as you like. Palms down to the floor. Keep everything nice and central, chin to chest. As you press into the floor, let's lift the pelvis, really reaching up with the pubic bone and the hip bones, okay? So as the chin drops towards the chest, there's this wonderful sort of synergy. Everything's working together, this sense of elevation, supporting the whole of the body with this lift with the breath, with our awareness, with that sense of openness, and with the glutes, okay, supporting the pelvis. Hands can rest down by your side, or you may want to wrap them under the mat for an extra sort of grip. It's entirely up to you. Nice deep breaths. One more breath in together, and then we're going to exhale, land down through the pelvis. Take an extra deep breath. You've got a couple of options here. You can let the knees flop out to the side, soles of the feet together, or you can simply extend the legs. If you're extending the legs, again, give the feet a little wave so that they're releasing the tightness up in the hips. And if you're coming into this beautiful bound angle pose, this is Baddha Konasana, you can let the hands rest again on the belly or the upper chest. So just witnessing the movements of the energy settling. Perhaps a little more softness around the edges, a sense of aliveness. Well done. We're going to gently peel the legs up if they are in the angle pose, wide angle pose, just lifting, drawing them in. We're going to roll over onto our side, staying on our side. Okay, take some deep breaths. Use your hands for support. We're just resting on the whichever leg you're on to face me. Coming up onto the elbow, and again you may want to shift your blanket under your elbow if there's tightness there. And just rolling. Be really mindful here because it can be super tight on the IT band, okay? Top hand for support. Just rest that ahead of the chest. And then we're gently massaging through this side of the leg, okay? This brilliant quadricep muscle, or muscles I should say. And then breathing. And exhale any tension that you can release. It can be quite intense. And if it's too intense through this supporting arm, of course, you're welcome to come a little lower down. You can bring the elbow further out. Do the same thing, resting on the elbow. Mindful of the shoulders. Breathing and releasing. If we notice this, tension, but we hold on to it, it just gets to stay. We can really wish it well, say goodbye. Well done. Settle there, draw the legs up, release the head if you were resting your head on your hand. Come up nice and slowly. We're going to swing the legs to the other side. And again, if you found the blanket useful on one side, you're welcome to take it to the other end of the mat. You didn't actually use it really. Come into that lovely alignment. So roughly, you know, you'll know the alignment. It will just feel good through the hip, right down to the ankle, and then up to this supporting arm. Hand comes forward. And again, just teasing out the tissues. And if it is too intense, just rest in one place. That's absolutely fine. You don't need to add the movement to it. If you took yourself all the way down on the first side, you may want to explore doing the same into that armpit. Nice deep breaths. You won't get so much movement and range resting on the elbow, but it may be better for your shoulder. Breathing deep. Well done. Good job. Last little move, we're going to roll right the way onto the belly. Staying up onto the elbows, forearms and wrists. Let's relax the legs all the way down. It's quite snake-like. Take the elbows a little further forward. Lift up through the belly, shoulders releasing. We're going to come to rest down on the belly, okay? So take the arms wide, rest the head, take some deep breaths. So we can take that breath the whole length of the spine, all the way down to the very tailbone. Deep breaths, releasing through the neck, down towards the pelvis. And lastly, peeling up the head, turn the head to the other side. And just notice the in-breath through the nostrils right down to the belly. Take an extra deep breath in. Gently start to peel yourself up. Again, keeping with that snake-like quality, nice and soft and sensitive. Toes can tuck under. We'll use the hands for support. Come up with a gentle press. You may want to extend the arms. Let the forehead rest. You're welcome to come up through a downward dog, just to stretch through the back to the legs, whatever feels good for your body. Nice big exhalation, and then release. Good job. Well done. We're going to move ourselves towards our seated position for a little stretch there before we come into our meditation. Feel free to have some tea or water if you brought anything with you. Good job. Loosening off. Hopefully a little reset for the body. You may want to add an extra layer. Certainly feels like that sort of in between stage. where you may need a shawl or something. So, comfortable seated position. And we'll just have a last little movement through the body to get super comfortable. I'm going to move a little closer. And you may want to put your socks on. All these are optional. Seated position, again, I like to give some options, but something that works for your body. So it may well be cross-leg position. It may well be kneeling, Sukhasana. Good job. Well done. Take support that feels good for you. So something with a little softness under the shins. Well done. So we'll start with that little lift up through the spine. Hands can rest on the knees, chin to chest. Let's just start with that reconnecting with the length through the spine, the stillness of the pelvis, and the settling down again of the energy. So we've moved the body. This is our asana practice. We've looked at the withdrawal of the senses. We've become more acutely aware of our breath. We've settled the movements of the mind, although it may still be turbulent at times. So just a nice light awareness of all of that, everything that's taken place, all of that, and then just surrender that. Just be completely present with your own experience, just as it arises. So just notice if there are any movements that the body desires, if there's any discomfort anywhere. So this settling in is really just a chance to start to witness what is taking place, an opportunity to tune in. And much like the beginning of the posture that we started at the beginning of the session of the postures, we're tuning in and therefore tuning out of everything else. Let's bring the hands together, interlacing the fingers, just gently placing the palms across the chest. Let the head come up nice and slowly. So again, you get this sense of position where you are in your body, of connection through the hands against the chest, this connection with the heart, this softening of the shoulders, releasing the tension across the collarbones, eyes soft, jaw soft, and real surrender of upholding any idea about ourselves, or personality or position or anything that weighs heavy on us. Belly soft. Notice where the breath is landing. Long, smooth breaths. We can change the mudra into the lotus mudra, the Padma mudra, which is the thumbs and little finger together, and exploring the space between the three other fingers in the middle, resting this towards the heart. And this is a beautiful sense of openness and expansion. You may wish to hold this or rest the hands. Again, the hands become tired, just let them rest without collapsing through the spine. So we're going to chant again to Tara, and I'll start, and the words are really just her name in different forms. And we start with Om, so listening or joining in with the sounding. Deep breath in. Om tare tutare ture svaha. 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 Exhale, release, and the hands come to rest. Take a deep breath in and release. And just notice if any tension has crept into the body. Breathe a little softness to those areas, perhaps around the shoulders, the joints, the hips. And we'll drop into a little meditation around the heart space and this beautiful quality of Tara, of compassion, sensitivity, of peace, of deep mother love. I'll mind the time. Taking a deep breath in. Exhale. Allow the deep breath to follow naturally. Following that breath into the lungs and release. Well done. Let's just extend the hands, interlacing the fingers, a gentle stretch. Any movement here before we come into our Shavasana. Alright, so take your time, extending slowly into all those creases, into the toes, to the fingertips. Come to lie down without too much agitation, staying quietly with the breath. Taking a little support under the back of the head. You may want to place the bolster behind the knees. Again, if the temperature's dropped where you are, you may want to add an extra layer, eye pillow, whatever you need to be super comfortable. Otherwise you come to extend the body. You may want to start with a little hug of the knees, a little roll around, again the back of the pelvis. Ultimately so you can settle in the centre. Legs extend, arms a little distance away from the body. Eyes gently close. If you have an eye pillow, you may wish to use that. Dim the lights, of course, if they're too bright. Let all the tension go. Resting into all the points that are in contact with the floor. The back of the heels, the pelvis, the shoulders, the hands, the head. Resting in that deep peace of yourself. Resting in the heart space. Resting with the breath. Taking an extra deep breath in. Exhale. Release the whole of that breath. Allow the next expansive breath to come into the lungs. And release. And slowly start to bend up the knees. Making some movements to come over onto your side. Any side that suits your body. Bringing some movement through the fingers and toes. Let some light and colour into the eyes. Take your time to come slowly up from the side towards a comfortable seated position. Hands to the heart space. Deep breath in and release. Namaste. Bow to you. Hope you sleep well.